Okay, so I guess we're live now.
Yes, we are. Here we are again.
Okay, everybody. I'm Dustin Coiner, and it's the Ask a Superbike Genius with Fresh and Lean Progressive Yamaha Racing Team boss Richard Stanboli.
Yeah, apparently you got it right, but Fredmore always calls it Attack Yamaha on the show.
Well, you know what? I gotta say, Jake even got it wrong on the podium. So
I know after the podium, I was like, no, it's yeah, Jake got it wrong. He called it the Fresh and Lean Attack Yamaha or something like that. And then Cameron actually got it kind
Cameron
of
got it
close.
right. Cameron got it right.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I gotta share this too, and I'm gonna give credit where credit's due. Mike Canfield sent me this. One of the crew members of the team. He's got great hair, by the way.
He's also known as Foghorn.
Foghorn. Okay. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm going like when my phone rings, if it's Mike Canfield, it's the old man from Up. I mean,
yeah, no, but if we put the old man from Up on his hard card, people would think that was him.
that's because it looks exactly the same
like
nose, the same glasses, the same hair.
But Foghorn, like it's like a character of it. It's got the big hair,
yeah, dude,
you know, like a rooster, and the kind of the big belly and the tall upper body. You know,
oh man.
Mike.
Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and share this because, you know, this is Canfield. You know, we could maybe change the name of the show to the Shrek and Donkey Hour. What do you think?
Yeah, well, you definitely could be a donkey.
What do you think? Eh?
Yeah, donkey's pretty annoying, you know, and you're pretty annoying at times too.
Yeah, I mean, I own that. I'm not gonna lie.
At least Shrek's the cool one in that cartoon, you know. He's a big, nice killer guy.
Man, this is the worst thing ever. Yeah, so let's talk about the weekend a little bit. The first thing is you guys before you went over to the racetrack, you went and visited Yamaha headquarters there in Kennesaw?
No, Marietta, Georgia.
Oh, Marietta, Georgia. Okay.
Yeah. We got a chance to tell some war stories with some of the guys there and show them our bikes and kind of set up the tent and the awning and the bikes and everything as we race. And they got a chance to walk through the trailer. And, you know, I mean, they all work behind the scenes pretty hard at getting all the side-by-sides and all the motorsport stuff out there for people to buy, you know, R1s and R7s and everything else they sell, you know, so they were really busy doing that. So it's kind of nice to go there and spend a little time with those guys and get to know each other a little better, see where some of their small amount of money is going towards anyway.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that goes on, and it seems like a lot of the people that work there used to work and live in that Cypress area, right?
Yeah, a lot of them were transplants. I mean, the girl that helped to set up, you know, she had a 714 number. I'm like, oh, Orange County number. And so it was, yeah, a lot of people that were in Orange County probably for over a decade moved to over there. It's a pretty nice area. It's not bad, you know, and facility's pretty nice. And so it was fun to go there and spend the day. We came in a little early and picked up a couple of engines from Delta Cargo and drove up there and had a chance to unload the truck, put up all the stuff, put it back down, and then go to the racetrack. A little practice setting up the awning.
Yeah. It's pre-sweeping the paddock before sweeping.
Yeah, Westby team, I was there as well. And, you know, it all started with a conversation with Chuck from the Westby team and myself. I was explaining how we would do this kind of open house thing at Kawasaki when we were there over a decade ago, you know, and well over a decade ago, 15 years ago now. And so we'd go there and we'd do an open house right before Fontana, because Fontana was on schedule at the time. And Kawasaki was in Irvine, so they have an open house and, you know, get to know everyone kind of thing and take some pics with the president and all that kind of stuff. So it was on a different scale, but much the same thing. So it was kind of fun to do that. So we got talking and it was like, hey man, we should do that at Yamaha right before the Atlanta race, because I don't even know if any of those people have ever been to a road race. You know, some of them may not have, or have seen the race bikes up close. You know, they're all busy and have families on the weekends and things like that. So yeah, it was cool to go and do that.
Right on. So then right after that, you basically boxed everything back up and headed to the track, right?
Yeah, went to the track, parked the truck, got up the next day and waited for a while to park. The usual.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about what happened during the weekend. I mean, weekend started off, looked like Jake was back to doing Jake things again, right? I mean, leading just about everything, practice, qualifying, whatever. Looked like business as usual, right?
Yeah, I think it was. We basically started where we left off at Coda. Coda, we had some difficulties, didn't get a lot of track time, and Jake DNF the one race with an electrical issue, and so felt like we were a little behind at Coda. We were actually pretty behind at Coda, but going to Atlanta, we felt like no problem. We got this, and sure enough, I thought we did. Breaking track records and setting pole positions and doing all the things that we do. Right. And it seemed like it was off to a good start. And then we had a little mishap in turn one there with new guy.
Yeah, the new guy. I sent him a text.
Some new guy blues.
I sent him a text afterwards, and I was like, dude, you can't park there.
Yeah. He crashed in turn one, a pretty good clip. Yeah. I think that's been the first crash we've had on the entrance of one. I've always wondered how fast the bikes would crash there. It's pretty fast turn one entry, and it slid for a ways and hit the air fence, and then it flipped over the air fence and got into the real fence and got stuck on the real fence. So I had to bring a crane in to unstick it. Yeah,
it was pretty crazy video footage there for that. It's kind of amazing that that photographer was there that captured it. I can't remember their name, but Sarah, the photographer for the team, she sent a link to it, and I was like, oh my god, that's amazing. Looked like you guys have some work to do on that too.
It did a good amount of damage to the bike, and it's amazing how much that gravel. The gravel is just like getting blasted with stuff. It used to be back in the day when you crash in Atlanta, you get the clay that never came out of your bike, but now you get that gravel that just destroys everything. And so, I did a fair amount of damage to the motorcycle. And luckily, Lee and Will had that thing turned around about an hour and a half. So we're ready for Q2. But then, there was some miscommunication with Motor America and the track doctor, because Cameron hurt his hand. He thought he broke some fingers. And, it's on the left hand. He's already got one, he's missing pinky on that side. So his next two fingers, they were getting kind of swollen. Like, oh, maybe I should go have the track doctor have a look at it. So the ambulance take him over there. And then the track doctor said, well, I'm all good if the Motor America doctor clears him. Jim, I think his name is Jim. And so he goes over to the Motor America doctor, and the Motor America doctor's like, yeah, well, the track doctor didn't clear you, so you've got to go get x-rays. And so he had to drive to the hospital, get x-rays, and he ended up missing Q2. And he didn't have anything broken, just bruised and stretched and smashed, the usual stuff.
Right. Yeah, I was going to ask
you about Q1.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. Like, did they send him to the hospital to check for a concussion, or like?
No, just a hand, which just blew me away. It's like, why is he going to get x-rays for a hand? It's not like he's going to die if his hand's broken. All he's going to do is say, man, my hand hurts, I can't ride.
Right.
So the whole thing was, still kind of in this weird state. I think we need to have a chat with Motor America about who has the final word on some injury like that. It's right. The rider should say, oh, my hand's fine, and go ride. It's not like he's a danger to anyone. Most is going to happen on the left hand, especially clutch hand, is he's not going to be able to pull on the grip as hard.
Yeah, I understand the concussion thing, right?
Yeah, but he wasn't out, wasn't unconscious or anything, so they should have cleared him right away. So there's a little bit of miscommunication that needs to be sorted.
So you know what? This crash also makes me want to bring up the air fence thing. The bike smashed into that air fence, and being involved in the CRA program, and we're working with Road Racing World Action Fund to like help us out with air fence for that. And dude, that air fence stuff is pretty expensive stuff, man.
Yeah, it is. Takes maintenance too,
Yeah, it's like what, $6,000 a section or something like that. And
yeah, you got to anchor it down. You got to do it right. But it for sure saves lives.
Yeah. I mean,
if you imagine if the bike got to a wall and bounced back and landed on Cameron, let's say.
Right. Right.
You remember the deal with Vincent Haskovic going all the way to another area where you would crash at Infineon at a good clip. And I always wondered what happens if you go that crash there. What was that, turn 6? I think they call it Infineon, where you crash. And he went all the way to I think an unprotected section of the wall, if I remember right, and ended up getting paralyzed.
Yeah, and he's still, he's still paralyzed. I think, was it the Lasco brothers? Well, was it Steve Lasco or Bob Lasco? I can't remember which one it was. But it had the same thing. He crashed the carousel like that and ended up paralyzed.
Yeah. I mean, there's probably a whole long list of stories like that in motorcycle road racing history.
Yeah.
But no, the air fence definitely works.
Yeah, and so I guess I'm kind of letting the cat out of the bag. We haven't really announced anything like that, but it looks like we're gonna have the air fence at Laguna Seca.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So
that's important.
That was pretty neat. I'm probably talking out of turn too. Like my partners are probably gonna want to, choke me to death for saying that in public, but whatever, they'll get over it.
Just air fence.
Yeah.
What's so bad about that?
Exactly.
It's not like you're giving up your contract details,
Right. Yeah. So we're gonna have air fence there, and you gotta like have a group of wranglers, I guess they call them, to like set it up, and it takes a minute too, man. It ain't like.
And then if somebody hits it, you got to go inflate it, right?
Yeah.
I don't know exactly how the new ones work, but somebody's got to put air in them.
Yeah, so there's that too. But I guess there's like self-inflating ones.
Oh, really? Nice.
Yeah. So
I imagine technology's come a ways.
Yeah, I don't really know exactly that detail, but that stuff's pretty cool, and it saves a bunch of racer dummies from themselves. Right. Okay, so race 1, you guys get going, and Jake's leading the thing, doing lap record pace, and then take it from there.
Race 1 started off the way we thought it was going to start. It ended not the way we thought it was going to end. Jake, he turned in turn 5 and was a little offline and cased the engine on the curbing there.
Oh, is that what happened?
Yeah, there was yellow paint, fresh paint on the which is ironic because I was watching the paint crew painting a bunch of stuff around the track, and then Cameron was saying how good the paint was on the curbing. How grippy the paint was on the curbing, right? So what ends up crashing Jake out? The paint on the curbing, the curbing itself, to the big yellow curbing. So he cased it. He had just a real high lean angle and 5, and he's just getting ready to split like he always does. And after the race, I don't know if Danilo was trying to be nice to Jake or whatever, but he said the pace was pretty aggressive. But he didn't think he could maintain that. So I thought that was a nice comment coming from him.
Yeah.
I was really looking forward to them racing again in race 2, but somebody had a smoking exhaust pipe.
No, it was overheated, right?
I haven't seen any overheats that blow blue smoke out the exhaust pipe. Only one, but it's possible. It also was blowing the smoke. I mean, you could call it that. I wasn't, in my opinion, that's not what it was. It'd like to be a fly on the wall when they take that engine apart in their engine room. But to me, he pulled up and was smoking. The other riders were pointing at it. So
yeah.
I don't think it overheated sitting there. I think it was already done by the time it pulls up to the grid.
Right. Well, I got to be honest with you, man. I know you're not an emotional guy or whatever, but when Jake crashed in race 1, I was yelling at the TV.
We had a little bit of that, damn it thing going on the other side of the pit. Because I crew chief for Cameron and John crew chiefs for Jake. And I was like, what happened? Jake went down. I looked and I see the bike tumbling through the air, and then it of course hit something pretty solid. That one was mashed beyond repair.
Yeah, that was a total loss, right?
The gas tank, the forks, the swinger arm, both wheels, triple clamps, air box, dirt in the engine. I mean, it was just completely done.
Yeah, I mean, I know
The
Yeah.
wiring harness is good. The frame got it too.
I know that there's all sorts of stuff for sale at the track on a race weekend, but you're not expecting to go to a yard sale, you know? Like, gee.
Yeah, I have a picture of all the pieces in the semi. You know, they're lined up on the bench and trying to figure out what's good and what's bad, you know, what we're going to park and what we have to replace. And yeah, there's a lot of components. So we end up with one bike minus going into the next day, you know, but you know what? We also, you know, just to back up a bit, you know, a few laps later, Cameron ends up clipping that well-painted curbing.
The
You know,
curbing with all the grip.
Curbing with all the grip. Yeah, ironically enough, he said, well, everyone was kind of jumping the curbing right there, so I thought I would try that line, and he ended up tucking the front and crashing. And it wasn't that bad. He picks it up, and he was so anxious to get going that he gassed it a little too hard in the grass and high-sided it. So he crashed it twice in the same lap, same corner. And that ended up causing him a DNF because he broke the handlebar at that point when it high-sided over. Sometimes those slow crashes do more damage than a high-speed slide, you know?
Yeah.
When you're low side in a high-speed slide, the bike usually stays fairly calm until it hits curbing. That's one of the things too at Atlanta. The curbing's fairly tall. You know, it's really more for cars than motorcycles. And I wish they knocked that curbing down to FIM spec, which is almost flat, basically non-existent.
Right.
You know, green paint, normal curbing, no curbing. You know, just lines like Coda. So you're not going to have any of those curb-style crashes like we had 2 bikes in one race hitting curbing. You know, crashing.
Right.
Of course, I mean, it's the riders, but you saw it also in the 600 race. You know, guys would hit the curb and crash, and various other races. I think Bobby Fong, he crashed in the exact same spot as Jake, but he curbed his bag.
Yeah, I saw that too. I was like, did he just hit his bag on the ground?
Yeah, his bag hit the ground. I thought I'd never hear that in a million years at a road race. His bag hit the ground prematurely.
Like, those dudes got to be careful too, because isn't there like beer and ice in there, like for the podium?
Well, I'm still hoping they would do that, the race where they would stop and pick up groceries at the 200. You know, I think the baggers should be, the 200 should be the baggers. I think I've said this before. They stop like an AM PM or some like quick mart or whatever they call it on the East Coast, and they run inside. You have to grab X amount of dollars from groceries, run outside, put them in the bags, and take off again. You
know what? I bet Bucky's would sponsor that.
Bucky's, it'd be the Bucky's 200. And you just pull up with a bagger, and while you're getting fuel, you got to run in and grab groceries and run out. Oh, but you know, some guys who cheat, they would have their iPhone to pay with instead of a credit card.
There you go.
You know, so it'd be like, oh, done.
No, you got to pay an exact change.
Yeah. So anyway, back to our race. So yeah, so Cameron crashes, and then now we got 2 bikes that are smashed. And you know what though, the crew did a great job, because I think we were at Centinelas, the Mexican place right down the street from Road Atlanta. I think we were there by about 8:30 or so.
Not bad.
Drinking margaritas and telling jokes.
There you go. You know what? I gotta say, I didn't see them talk to Cameron after the crash, but they did talk to Jake, and you know, they kind of had a camera in Jake's face pretty quick after he took his helmet off, and he had that look in his face, like he was not stoked to have a camera in his face, but the words coming out of his mouth were very positive, and you know, he basically is just like, yeah, I fucked up. Like he's like, yeah, I got in there, made a mistake, you know, see you tomorrow.
Stuff happens.
I like his attitude there. Is pretty refreshing. Oh, and I'm getting comments saying that Bucky's his life.
Bucky's his life?
Oh man. That's
Have you been into Bucky's?
Yeah, dude, of course I've been to Bucky's. I brought the race team Bucky's every day when we were in Daytona.
That's right. Yeah, that was the breakfast burritos are we brought over.
Yeah.
From Bucky's.
That's right.
It's an interesting place. I could say that much.
Yeah, I mean, I experienced it for the first time when we went to Barber last year, and I was like,
yeah, right across from that main road over there.
Yeah, and I was like, what is this place? It's like a gas station meets Bass Pro Shops meets barbecue smokehouse and a donut shop, and like a Hallmark, like
and candy store,
and a 7-Eleven, and a 7-Eleven.
7-Eleven, and bakery.
Yeah, yeah, and they make
Pick up all
fudge
your
or some
muffins,
crap
your
too, right?
donuts, and your slab of beef, and
Oh man,
and fill up
yeah.
your tractor trailer.
There's a guy saying that they're building the biggest Bucky's outside of Knox with over 225 gas pumps.
Wow. 200, that blows away Costco.
Yeah, dude. Yep. But when you go to Costco, you can't just walk in and grab like some barbecue ribs and like a gift card and a pair of board shorts.
You could. You just have to get like 20 pounds of barbecue ribs.
Well, yeah.
And a 6-pack of shorts.
Yeah, but not prepared and ready to eat right there. Like,
yeah, they got the chicken thing. You could go and start snacking on. You can walk around and just grab the snacks from everybody that's like has the samples and just walk out. If I was homeless, that's what I'd do. I'd have a Costco membership just to eat.
This guy says he's got a Bucky sticker on his R6.
Does he? People love that place. I don't know.
Dude,
I'm like, okay, that's cool, whatever.
I'm like, we're from California, man. We got 7-Eleven everywhere. And Arco.
Yeah.
PM or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's interesting. The baggers. See what happens when I get you going on the baggers.
They took away 5 more minutes of our practice. Every time we go to the racetrack, we're getting to be more and more like, WERA.
Oh shit.
I mean, like C modified, B this, A that. I can't even figure out how many classes they have. Yeah. I was the A Superbike champion. Oh, okay, great. I don't know. What is that class? So it'd be nice if Motor America was able to run a series where you had 3 premier, classes. But I guess it just can't be done because the way the entries are structured, and you need X amount of entries and all this other kind of stuff, which I don't understand. But World Superbike, you got Superbike, Super Sport, and whatever the junior is there, the 300 class, and MotoGP, similar kind of thing, very successful series. I just wish that we were at that level to where we would be able to. I guess with that regard, if MotoGP is A series and World Superbike's B series, I guess we are the C series, right?
Wow, dude.
Tobar might be
going
correct.
Back to that, dude.
Well, the guy's an idiot, So might as well just dwell on it. Call us the C series.
Oh man.
It looked like Danilo was getting beat by a C series rider in both races,
Wow. That's so, between the
actually never got a chance to race 2, so we can't say how that would have gone. And Jake didn't finish race 1, so we can't say how that would have finished. But it looked,
it's crazy.
The writing was on the wall. I mean, Jake was starting to inch away from him, not dramatically. I mean, he was out like almost 2 seconds or something, but he was pulling him a few tenths in every sector.
Right. Well, it did look like before the crash, there was like that optical illusion where, was it turn 10 where
10A, 10B.
Yeah, Petrucci would reel him in. Look like he reeled him in on the brakes, but at the corner exit, Jake was gone again.
Well, I mean, you think about that corner. You're down at 50 miles an hour or something like that, or 45 miles. I mean, it's a pretty slow corner when you get all the way down to second gear. I do believe in that corner. I don't think it's first. 10A, 10B, it might be first. I have to go back and look at the data. I forget. But anyway, so when you have a gap at 180 miles an hour, it's a big gap. Let's say 1 second of long distance, 180 miles an hour. When you get down to 40 miles an hour, it's basically a bike length. So it always has that illusion of, oh wow, that guy's so strong on the brakes, but it's not true. It's just the guy in front of you hit the brakes 1 second before you did, so you close up on him, and then he's on the gas 1 second before you, and then he opens the gap again. So it's just the accordion effect. It's natural. You see it in Formula One, MotoGP, everywhere.
So Mark Gagne's comment from earlier was, is this a cooking show?
Yeah, probably.
Maybe next time. Yeah, Richard's gonna make his specialty.
I don't have a specialty, man. I just go to restaurants.
There you
I
go.
don't cook.
And then Donovan Piper says the amount of baggers showing up to watch at Road Atlanta was pretty impressive. He's Saturday had like over 200 bagger guys show up to watch the race.
Nice.
That's cool.
Good.
Hopefully, like this is bringing people in and getting to see the Superbikes, and maybe they'll become fans of the Superbike thing, right? I mean, that's kind of the goal, right?
I think so.
I mean, that's our goal, right? I mean, because you don't make anything for baggers, so like you want to sell things to people that have bikes that you could sell things to.
We can make something for just about anything that we choose to make something for.
Right.
So it's gotta be interesting to make it. But yeah, some people are into it. I'm just not into it. To be perfectly honest with you.
I like the hooligans really, because it's kind of like a goon class to me. Like
yeah.
I kind of dig it,
Yeah, the XRs years ago, and that came and went too.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see. It might last for a long time. I have no idea.
I mean, I think there's also the build train race thing, the Royal Enfield thing.
Yeah.
There's a couple of the CRA female racers that are in that. So
yeah. Melissa Paris is in charge of that thing, I do believe, or
I think Melissa's like kind of their coach thing, like build mentor or something. I'm not sure. Melissa works on the bikes a ton, so she probably makes herself available to them when they get a snag or whatever, and she helps them with their riding too. I think.
Yeah, she called me a little bit before Coda and asked if we could do some work on some parts, components for those things. And I said, well, if everything's in one piece, maybe so after Coda, but we had a little bit of work to do between Coda and Road Atlanta. So.
Well, I mean, you got some.
Called me again, so I imagine she saw the results and figured out that we need to do some work.
Yeah, I mean, you guys, between the Coda and a couple of crashes at Road Atlanta, y'all are going to be busy making parts and building engines. I did post that picture that you sent me of all the engines. It's like, yeah, we're gonna have a dyno party.
yeah, we have a few combinations we're gonna go through and see if we can make a little more power with the gas that we have. We showed up to Atlanta and we decided, okay, we're gonna do just a quick big view test on the fuel. Mm-hmm. And so we tested what we had in our drum from Coda, and we tested what we had in the fuel tanks that were still on the bikes from Coda, and then we tested a new drum from Coda, and then we tested the drums that we just got in Atlanta, and all three had different specific gravity. Now, specific gravity doesn't tell you everything, but it kind of is a little bit of insight on what the fuel makeup is.
Right.
So I think there's a little bit of inconsistency going on there. And so, we're going to have to, that's what we have to work with. That's the fuel we have to work with. And so we're going to have to go back and have another look at the lowest common denominator. Like what's the worst possible combination we could tune towards? So that's a little challenging considering that if the thing's a moving target all the time, how can we know what's happening at the next round? So we have to leave quite a bit of a safety factor in our bikes.
Is there a way to test that somehow?
Yeah, we can send it off to the lab.
No, I'm saying track side, when you roll up to Moto America to test whether or not.
What they do is because I talked to Teague, the tech director, and I said, so what's the process? How do you guys determine exactly what are the steps that you guys take to make sure that everyone's on the same fuel or the fuel consistent? And they don't really test for consistent fuel. They take a sample at the track apparently and test, let's say your specific gravity at that track is 750, just pull a number out, and everyone comes in at 751, 752, 753, and one dude's 80. Well, guess what? The 80 guy is gonna get his fuel shipped to the lab, have it checked out, and then they check it for the color with a UV light and they do a few different things, a few different tests to make sure that the fuel is the same as what's at the track. But then here's the catch though. What if you bring your VP fuel from home? You know, because we buy VP fuel from VP here in California, and we run the dyno, we do all the winter testing with it, and then we build our engines according to what we see in that, you know, the end result. Look at the pistons and look at how the burn is, you know, check the detonation on it, stuff like that. So you do all that, then you show up to Dakota and you get some weird ass failure. So, you know, if we brought fuel from home, you know, if that flunked because it's different than what they have for VP at, let's say, Atlanta, then that fuel gets sent off to the lab, and then they'll check if the ingredients are proper within the spec.
Right.
You know, within the FIM spec or what. So you look at the rule book in Motor America, and it's not really the FIM spec. They have a spec for the VP fuel, which falls within the FIM spec, which was tested at a lab in Switzerland by FIM, you know, certified lab. And then it was certified as a spec fuel. But in FIM and MotoGP, there's some competition amongst the fuel. So you have ELF and you have Panta, and then you have Petronas, and then you have all these Shell, which makes for the Ducati, and they all make their fuel specific to the manufacturer that's running that model. Okay. And then they just have to ensure that it falls within the spec. So let's just say that you have a window, specific gravity window of 750 to 760, let's say. So maybe they're right on the edge, 759, and all the ingredients are within the window. You know, there's not any lead in there. There's all these different, you know, certain amount of oxygen. It's all maxed out. Right. Right. But when you're racing a spec series with one spec fuel, like remember we used to have Sunoco, which was pretty bad to engines as well. You can lean towards the cheaper side. You know what I mean, of that spec within that window. You can say, well, these components are costly, especially with fuel prices the way they are, but this meets the standard, so therefore we're going to try to cut some costs. And then you show up and, you know, 30 drums later of burning gas, you find out that everything's a little bit different spec. So anyway, lesson learned. We're gonna have a very close look at what we're putting inside the bikes from going forward.
So you're also going to be busy the next week or so, maybe 2 weeks, building everything, right? Swing arms.
We have some new swing arms coming online.
Okay.
That we're gonna use at VIR probably, but for sure Road America. So working on that. So program goes as planned, you know. So we're doing that. We did the Daytona thing, so that ate up a bit of our time, but we still had a pretty good plan going forward. So we have some new swing arms and some other new things coming online before Road America. We did take a little bit of a sidestep with the whole engine thing. Yeah. You know, so making sure that we have an engine that's compatible with the fuel we're running now. So we're there on that, and yeah, we'll go forward. And
couple of tanks, you know.
Fuel tanks are costly.
How long? I mean, just for people that don't understand, they're making the tanks for the bikes. Anybody that's walked up to see the Attack Yamaha in the pits, you can see that the tanks that you guys are using aren't the tanks that we have on our bikes that they come with from the factory, right? So yeah, you have this unique thing where the kind of your tank incorporates the subframe kind of, and then I'm gonna let you.
It's basically like MotoGP, Moto2 style fuel tank assembly, you know. So the fuel tank's a cell, which also is a subframe. So it mounts on some hard points on the chassis. And so when you pull the tank off, it looks like you ripped off half the motorcycle, you know. Right. And the tank was shaped around a lot of things that Cameron Bobier wanted. You know, he rode the R1 for many years, you know, a number of championships. And so I think he was the expert on how he wanted to be able to hang off a motorcycle and all that. And it was actually at the end, it was very similar to what the Europeans were using with like Top Rack. And so the shape is very custom. Takes a long time to build those tanks. And so every time we smash one up, it's like, ooh, there's a leak. Oh, there's another week, you know,
Oh, it's legit a week to make a tank.
from scratch. Yeah. By the time you machine all the components and you stamp out the pieces and you cut all the little bits and pieces and make all them hard point mounts and all that. Yeah, you're into it. You could probably do in a rush, you could do 2 in a week because you could do simultaneously, or maybe even 3, but it'd be a lot of work, you know.
So you're going to be banking 3 this week? Is that what you're saying?
We got a schedule. The tank is we can actually probably repair one of them.
Okay.
Yeah, the crash we had at Buttonwillow smashed the crap out of the tank too. Smashed it so hard it broke the airbox and filled the engine up with all types of dirt. So that one we were able to repair. And so I think one of them we can repair. The one Jake did in, that one's pretty flat. That broke the airbox also.
I think your ability to make parts out of make clocks out of broken parts is growing. Like we might be able to sell that, right? Like
we have a lot of benchmark
clock
wheels.
out of it.
Yeah.
Right.
Jake also likes to jump curves, so we have a rack full of stuff that needs to go to Dr. John's for straightening.
Well, yeah, because these are aluminum wheels. It's not like the crazy mag wheels from back in the day, right?
You can straighten the mag wheels too. You just have to be really careful. You have to time them out in a certain amount of time, don't get cracks in them. Yeah, the aluminum wheels are very forgiving, you know.
Yeah.
But you can also straighten them a little bit. But once they get a kink in them, it's pretty much over. Like, you know, the ones in that crash. And you know, I before race 2, my pep talk for Cameron was, ready? It's 3 words: finish the race. That was it. I got a pep talk for you.
About that.
Finish the race. That's it.
You know what? I mean, I'm gonna continue with that in a little bit, but there's like a whole bunch of questions coming in, and
Sure.
I'm just gonna get
Fire
to
away.
them. Yeah. Okay. So, August Nord. I think she races that that tiger striped R6. I don't know if it's the one Elaine Carpenter used to race, but I think that's August Nord. I could be wrong. She'll probably correct me if I'm wrong. But she's like, I hear this is where you apply to be a factory Yamaha rider. But seriously, do you think the Supersport Ducati V2 will be limited more after this past weekend? Or do you think they'll wait and see?
They'll probably wait and see, because honestly, all the tuning gets done by a gentleman in England that runs that ECU program, you know. So I think they got a bunch of information from us at Daytona. We did the Daytona 200 and looked at our acceleration and looked at the Ducati and the Triumph and all those, and kind of paired them up. So with regards to that, I think one of the areas where a lot of R6 guys, I think, missed the boat, especially at a track like Atlanta. Atlanta's fairly unique because you have to run such tall gearing there, because you have that kink in the back straightaway. Like even our Superbike was, I think, like 6 teeth taller than Coda. If you can imagine that. Because as soon as you bend the bike over on the smaller tire, it's like back shifting 2 gears. You know, the thing goes straight to the limiter, and that's your limiting factor to get speed down into turn 10. So you run really tall gearing there, and a lot of R6 guys don't want to use first gear. You know, so if they don't want to use first gear to accelerate, they can get beat out of the corner all the time. You know, so where the Ducati's got some torque and that low RPM it could use to jump off the corner. And so I think it's just a matter of maybe a little more education on the gearing process and and how the riders can maybe getting their shifters set up a little better so they can back shift into first, a good auto blip system, you know, so they can use first gear at a bunch of tracks. Because, you know, we're helping Mark Rosenberg, Mark built with some of the stuff we learned at Daytona, and Benjamin Smith's riding one of the engines he tunes for him. He builds for him, and he said that, yeah, they're good on top speed. I think he might have had the top speed of the weekend, you know. I don't know if it was in the draft or by himself or what, but he had pretty good top speed on that bike. But he said, yeah, we're getting killed off the corner. You know, I go back to, why are you guys using first gear, and why aren't you? You know, it helps you slow down and helps you accelerate. So I think that's one area where I think a lot of guys use. I just remember JD Beach telling me that even on the Graves Yamahas, they never used first gear. which blows me away, especially at a track like Atlanta where gearing's so tall.
That's an interesting take. I mean, I've got a bunch of stuff about that in my notes, but you just answered, so I don't even have to go there. But and to continue on with that discussion, obviously the Ducati looked like it, just from watching from the couch, obviously, it looked like it just pulls half second off the start, and the 750, it took a while to get going, but it looked like dude on the 750, I think it was Lockhoff, right?
Yeah. Block us.
What'd you say?
Block us.
Block us?
Yeah.
Dude, you're going to get me yelled at by John again. Come on, man.
No, it was Chris, wasn't it?
No, it was
I'm
John.
mad at you. Was it
Proper
John too?
Yeah, dude. Papa John called me up and yeah. Anyway, so.
Yeah, Chris told me he was upset with you.
Yeah, I'm sure he was.
It's not his fault. It's not your fault. I'm the guy antagonizing you. I saw Chris.
No, but Lockhoff looked like he had a shot at winning both races, man. He was reeling him in and then he fucked up, and what are you going to do there? But I talked to
I mean, let's face it. I mean, you got Heron, that's his home track, and he loves that track, and he's on basically a leader bike.
Yeah.
And he's got a really good setup. He should be winning everything. If he isn't, then he sucks.
So, I mean, like I said, the GSXR 750 looked like it had a shot at winning both days. It did look like there was a lot of chatter about whether it was too soon to let it go because the parts weren't readily available. I heard some of that chatter. I guess it's got like a special ride-by-wire thing. It's from England.
Yeah. They had to be able to limit the power. The torque reduction. They have to limit the throttle opening.
Right.
So you can't do it with a cable. I guess you could do it with some art, do it with retard, ignition retard and things like that. But the bike would be fairly unrideable if you go about it that way.
Yeah.
We tried to do that with a Kawasaki years ago, and it didn't work out well. But the torque limiting with the drive-by-wire is the same thing we do for anti-wheelie and things like that. So that works pretty well. But yeah, there's a place in England which made the drive-by-wire setup, and then they're probably behind on trying to get that stuff available for everyone. But honestly, there's no Suzuki's in the paddock except for John's or Chris's, whatever.
Yeah, all the Suzuki's come out of their world.
Their shop, yeah. So it's limited. Okay, if I had to run a Suzuki and I couldn't race Atlanta, I'd probably be calling John and Chris and saying, "Hey, you need to give me one of your drive-by-wire systems so I could race."
So I did speak to a couple of 600 riders. I'm not going to mention them by name because
why not?
Okay, I talked to Chad Lewin, I talked to Rocco Landers, and I talked to Rocco's dad. And I was like, okay, guys, you've had a race weekend. What do you think? And Chad basically is like, look, my bike was slow. I think he fucked up on the engine build or something. I don't know, but I guess he's working on addressing that for the next time.
Yeah.
But I talked to Rocco. Rocco's like, I don't know what I'm gonna do, man. He's like, I'm throwing the kitchen sink at it. And then he sent me a video that kind of demonstrated he's full gas and the other bikes are just yarding him.
Yeah.
So, they're kind of scratching their heads, and Stoney's just kind of like a wait and see, wait and see how it turns out. Cause eventually it'll kind of get balanced out. Right. I mean, you would hope.
I think so. I mean, I think we did the N2 engines here.
Okay.
Those guys we're going pretty decent. I think they're third in the championship right now, I do believe.
Okay.
And then, I told you about Mark. Mark built those engines based on our specs and heads and stacks and things like that. So they weren't complaining about the power too much, just a little bit of acceleration.
Yeah.
So, again, Atlanta is one of those unique tracks where you got to run really tall gearing because of that back straightaway. So I think when you get to VIR, you might have a little different picture. But we'll see. I mean, Josh gets around VIR pretty good as well. I think it's gonna be pretty hard to beat. You basically got a guy with Superbike experience and Superbike championship riding, not the kids class, but a class where he should be booted out of because he doesn't really shouldn't be there. But whatever, he's riding a super sport class.
Yeah,
So,
I mean,
he should be riding Superbikes.
Yeah, I mean, he said on TV that that's his goal for next year is to be on a Ducati Superbike.
Yeah, well, that's a good goal.
I mean, I guess he's got to win the 600 thing first, or the Super Sport thing, whatever they call it now.
Yeah, I mean, if he doesn't win that, then I don't know. He should win it.
I mean, for the amount of effort, you compare all the other teams, I mean, aside from the M4 team, because they have a pretty serious and long-standing super sport effort, there isn't really like another team with that level of effort in that class, right?
Well, they're all like Rocco and his dad.
Yeah.
They're doing it out of their own home budget. Whatever Stoney does for his business and things like that. They don't have a bunch of cash coming in, and they're all trying to figure out probably how they can make it. N2, I think, is funded pretty decent. I'm not sure how they are, but same with Benjamin Smith. I mean, it's a small operation, so other than M4 and the Ducati team, I think those are the only two guys that really are fairly well funded. You can see it last year too. There was only two bikes really at the front, right?
Right.
Escalante and SDK.
Yeah, and before that, it was the same thing. It was Escalante, SDK, and Gillum.
Yeah.
And PJ. And PJ.
Yeah. That's right. PJ was there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was probably a little bit better season for racing. I think last year was a two-man show for the most part. Still good racing, but it was a two-man show. And so I think it's going to be one of those things. I mean, the series has to look at it. It's probably going to be the Heron runaway just about every race, because he's got all the track experience for the last couple decades. And 600 class racing is more his gig than Superbikes.
Right. Yeah. It's fun. It's more fun.
Or should I say super sport racing, because they're not 600s anymore.
Right. So there's a bunch of comments saying that Stefano Mesa is going to be trouble for him when he gets there.
Okay.
And then also Matt Testa says that that Lewin's working with Josef at Attack to help the engine right there.
I think maybe Josef mentioned something. I don't know. We're pretty busy right now building some of those R6 bikes that are for sale.
And Tim P says that Heron running in that class is really no different than Cody Wyman having a super sport license racing Junior Cup.
Probably.
Let's see. Adam Orenchak, sorry if I pronounced that wrong, asks if you have a knock sensor on the Superbikes.
No, there's no knock sensor. There's not a knock sensor channel on our ECUs, but we could on the dyno put a knock sensor on it and record some of the knocking and do the audio thing, which is kind of common for knock stuff. But yeah. Anyway, don't want to get too far into the weeds.
Okay. Joseph Spume says that are they balancing the bike based on World Superbike balancing? Or it seems the issue with Supersport here is that the difference in talent is much wider than the World Supersport has?
No, the balancing was done based on some info they pulled at Daytona, as far as I remember. Because they pulled, we gave them some data off of our bikes at Daytona.
Okay.
The R6s we had, so they looked at acceleration, not just top speed. Looked at acceleration. They looked at acceleration and shifting. So if let's say you got a big bike and you shift, your RPMs fall quite a bit. Is the throttle open enough at that point to be able to maintain acceleration with the bike next to you? So they took the information from our guy, and they took the information off the Ducati and took the information off of the Triumph, and they try to balance out the bike's delivery. Now they don't have any information, as far as I know, from the Suzuki. So I don't even know if what they're running for an ECU in that thing to control. I guess it'd be the ECU that it has to be the same ECU as the Triumph and all the other ones, the spec ECU, right? So Medtronic. So they should be able to pull some information off that and compare and see where they're at. but I don't know if they've done that yet. I don't know if Teague has done that. Teague would not be the guy doing the balancing. It would all go back to Europe, and they're balancing it based on, I think, the Yamaha R6 being the baseline.
So Tim P has asked this question twice, so I'm just gonna, sorry, dude. There's so much crap going on. He says, last year you guys started the second race where you finished the first. What happened to that this year?
If we could predict the future, if that dude can predict the future, then he needs to be a Jillionaire or something. I don't know. I pretty much said that the Ducati team was going to be trouble this year.
Yeah, oh yeah. Like all the pre stuff that we said, it's like, yeah, that team's going to be serious. I mean,
they had a year getting beat up. They learned quite a bit. They brought in a MotoGP, a refugee, a guy who's actually won MotoGP. The guy was actually riding MotoGP less than a year ago, in the middle of it. So is him getting yarded in the first race in the opening laps, to pull 2 seconds on a MotoGP winner, I think it's pretty good. So people can say what they want and they can, predict the future and all that stuff. Well, they should have a day in my shoes and they can figure out what to do from there.
So I got a kind of funny question from TTX Tech. I don't know who that is, but it says, is this Ask the Super Sport Genius?
I guess it is.
Oh, man. Okay.
Genius is kind of like could be taken 2 ways, just like you say, gifted children, you know what I mean?
Special,
gifted.
There you go.
It's like genius.
Yeah. Okay. So I kind of wanted to ask you a couple more questions that I got beforehand, and then go over to the couch potato crew chiefs thing.
Sure, go for it.
Okay. So fan questions. Sean Williams says, ask Rich if you could go into Cameron getting used to the bike and where he's looking to make up the gap to Jake.
Cameron is super motivated, and he fell in love with that bike almost immediately the first test. Like, there was no measuring grips, or there was no bending bars this way and that way, or adding seat pads and seat humps and this, that. He just wanted to go out and do laps. But he does feel under pressure from Jake and others to perform at that level. But if you think about it, this is his second year, right, on a Superbike. He did 1 year last year, right?
Yeah. And
then this is his second year on a Superbike. He's doing pretty damn good to finish second in the second year of Superbike, or finish on the podium even at all. So if you look at other people that will have a second year, like Gerloff, for instance, he struggled quite a bit the first couple of years before he started winning. Right. And for sure, I think Cameron feels the pressure. And he told me, coming through the ranks, he had to always push as hard as he could to make sure he gets a job the next year, or has some kind of ride at whatever level. I said, hey man, you got a 2-year deal. We got to chill a little bit. I said, I know you feel the pressure from Jake, and Jake was kind of in the same boat as him. I told him that with Cameron Bobier, and Jake smashed up some stuff trying to get to learn the craft and figure out the motorcycle and figure out the crew and all those things. So Cameron's going through a little bit of that. It's only been 2 races, so I mean, it's like some people are writing the last chapter already, and we've gone to 2 events. I mean, there's 80% of the series is still left. I mean, but that's the way it is, I guess, right? So a lot of people were saying Paparoro is done, he's over. He won his championship. Now he's going to finish 20th. And he goes out and smokes everyone at Portimao. I mean, he destroyed everyone.
Right.
So you're only as good as your last race. I guess we won the last race, so I guess we're good.
For now.
So,
the other question I had, and I cannot for the life of me find the guy's name that posted this question, but I wrote the question down. I don't know why I didn't write the dude's name down, but basically it was like this guy and a couple other people that were saying that you were talking about your excess of trophies from last year.
Yeah.
And the guy was basically saying that maybe you should give one of those rando trophies to Kayla.
If she wants it, she can have one. I got a bunch of them. It's taking up space. Yeah, that sucked, and but you see that in World Superbike too. Somebody jumps a curve at the end, they move them back one position or a couple seconds or something, or they get on there, they just touch green stripe. The MotoGP,
Right.
same thing. Guy does a pitch and qualifying lap, and oh, lap's taken away because it was a yellow section.
Yeah. Then they got to do a long lap penalty.
Yeah, long lap penalties and all this other crap all that goes on in racing, but it's what it is. I felt bad for her because she rode. I saw only the last 2 laps of it. It was a crazy race. They don't believe in a racing line because they go in every corner 5 abreast.
Yeah.
But she did a good job and she deserved something. She got lots of recognition, so I guess she got that. Better than a trophy.
My initial reaction is like, man, she got robbed. But it's like, dude, if you just read the rule book, it says, no passing under yellow, right?
Yeah.
So, I guess they made the right call, regardless of how tough the call is. They still got to make it, because if they don't, then what the hell do they got a rule book for, right?
I think Rick's a pretty fair guy. He's not making calls just to make calls, and so.
Well, I'm saying it's a tough call because there was a gaggle of them going into that corner.
I don't know what they did to everyone else that might have passed or whatever happened there. They had to probably replay it a bunch of times.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
And then they had to reshuffle the order accordingly, so.
Right. Yeah, I think she ended up 3rd in that. They docked her 2 positions. Everybody in that group that got penalized, I guess, got docked 2 positions. So
right.
It was unfortunate, but it's one of those things, I guess. Matt Testa says that the 750 technically isn't homologated in World Supersport. He says Motor America is telling everyone they are following World Supersport and FIM, but they aren't.
Yeah, we're still kind of different as a series. So there's a lot of things that aren't quite FIM. Our tracks aren't quite FIM. The curbing's not quite FIM. Like the curbing that Jay crashed on, it's not FIM spec.
Right.
There's a lot of things that aren't quite FIM, but that's what makes us unique as a series, I suppose.
Okay. That's let's see. So
a lot of things in the rules that aren't FIM.
So is the
baggers aren't FIM homologated, I'm pretty sure.
Joe Sven says, so is the Mectronic homologated ECU for Moto America too? I believe the GYTR ECU isn't allowed in World Supersport, and all the teams are using Mectronic for the R6.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I don't know.
I know in Superbike you could use either the Morelli system or the kit ECU. I do believe that. Nobody does that. I thought that was in the rules, but I'm not 100% sure. So I only looked at World Superbike rules a couple times when we entered it.
So here's a good question for you. Would you, AC is the guy that posted this, but he says, Richard, would you rather have the competition from Ducati or a year like last year where Gagne just wins everything?
I'd rather have the competition with Ducati.
You know what?
I congratulate Bobby Shack and Faraci, and I told those guys from the beginning that I wish they'd step up their game the next year and give us a run, and that's what they're doing. So good on them.
Well, I knew that was going to be your answer because when you originally got the Yamaha program, your whole goal was to beat up Yosh, and then Yosh didn't show up.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it isn't the goal to beat up Yosh. It was the goal to race against someone.
Yes, exactly. I mean, you wanted to beat Yosh because they were the top team.
Yes, and we were gearing up to race Yosh.
Yes,
that's all the stuff we were thinking about, like how we're going to beat Yosh, who's going to be the riders, all those things. Then all of a sudden, boop, they're gone. It's like, all right, I really hope. And I was telling Chris, I really hope you guys get going. And we invited him to some tests, like we test out of Buttonwillow, and Chris came to one of them, and they're still working on it. But the Ducati guys, they're doing a good job. What can I say? They have real motorcycles, they have real crew, and they have real money. They have the factory behind them.
So John McCown says that this stream reminded him to order his Daytona pit shirt.
There you go.
That is just a heads up. If you want to order a Daytona pit shirt, I believe you only got a couple more days, and then that's it.
Pre-orders, yeah.
Yeah, the pre-order stops at April 30th. So if you don't get it in by the 30th, sorry, bro.
Yeah, maybe we'll have some extras
Maybe.
laying around.
Maybe.
Might just luck out and have another XL in the bottom of the box or something.
Wow. Yeah, we'll see. But yeah, I guess a couple days, that's it. That's
Yeah.
Joseph told me there was like 100 of those or so.
I don't know. There's a lot of them.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Considering we literally made them last minute for the team for Daytona.
Now you'll make them last minute for the audience.
Yeah, well, not really last minute, but yeah, I mean, okay. All right, so couch potato crew chiefs. Oh, let's talk about the TV feed. Like, what the hell happened there?
Yeah, that was odd. So, yeah, I don't know. Motor America's still working through a few bugs, I guess. I don't know why this year is the way it is for Motor America, because last year was quite a bit smoother, but this year it seems kind of lumpy. Daytona was lumpy, Coda was lumpy, and now this thing's kind of lumpy. But we had so many misfires that day, probably why the Ducati guys are upset, as far as go out, do your practice, your sighting lap, and then do your quick start. Oh, we're not going to run it. Live. Oh, go out, do your. Oh, we're not going to run it. So we had at the end, we ended up doing 28 laps for that race, which you guys missed. Out and back in, park it. Okay. 5 more minutes, 1 more minute, and literally they're blowing the horn, and I had to walk up to one of the staff, Motor America staff, say, how many laps are we doing in this race? Like, do you know how many laps we're doing? Because we have to put fuel in the bike. Like, do we just fill it up all the way, not knowing? And so they finally said 17 laps. Okay, well, it was 17 laps the last time we started. So normally you guys take off like 2 laps every time we go out and have a false start, for the parade and the warm-up lap, right? And so they said 17 laps. All right, well, pour gas, do the calculation, pour gas, and out we go. And I looked at the Dunlop guys and said, we're going to do 28 laps on these tires. So for a 17 lap race, they go, you guys might want to call a mandatory tire change, but they wouldn't do it. So I don't know if people crash because their tires are so old or, so many heat cycles on them. But if anybody knows the Dunlop 129, it does not heat cycle well. You go out and do one race, and then it goes well for the whole race. You try to pull in and pull out, it starts to lose some of its luster. And it just keeps doing this little step functions down in performance, And so, but, even with that said, Jake went out and did a 24 flat with nobody pressuring him. Just a 10th over the track record pace, and which he has the outright track record 29.4, and but he did a 23.4, and he did a 23.9 in the first race. Right. Petrucci chased them, and they did a 24 flat in this race with like 3 or 4 heat cycles on the tire. So I thought he did a good job, and I think he kept it all in the 24s and just kept knocking it down, one lap after the other like a machine. Yeah, he's a little bit of a robot there when he gets going. He loves a clear track, and he just goes. So it's going to come the day when he has to race. Him and Danilo are going to race, and same with Skoltz. Yeah. I mean, you can't say enough about Skoltz, and the Westby guys have really come along well, Yeah, they look like the Westby guys. Seeing them in the off season, it was like, man, they're taking it serious, really serious now. And yeah, they're spending some money. They're making a gigantic effort to get up front, and they finished second in the championship last year. They're one of the 4, if you want to call them the aliens, but they're one of the 4 that are complete runaways, So in race 2, Jake split. Cameron went with him, and so did Skoltz. And Jake put a gap on those guys, fairly decent gap straight away. And Cameron, all the while, is thinking in his head, finish the race. Last words I gave him, finish the race, So they go down in a turn 10, him and Skoltz, and they're having a little bit of a battle. A little bit of battle of chicken, who's gonna
Yeah.
break deeper. And Cameron's like, this is about as deep as I'm gonna go. And he, squeeze the brake again. If you try to beat someone out, you kind of release the brake a bit, and you have this almost drag race to the turn point, and he's like, man, I don't think he's gonna make it. That's what, he's either gonna go straight in the gravel or tip over. And of course he tipped over.
So this is a really weird comment. There seems to be multiple of them.
Okay.
The AC guy says, is it true that Auto Parts for Less bounced their sponsorship check to Moto America?
I don't know about bouncing checks. I just know that we're no longer required to run the logo.
Okay.
Yes, Auto Parts for Less is Auto Scam for Less, big decals for less. The decal was gigantic on the bike. It kind of dwarfed some of our real sponsors.
Right.
Free decals for less, I don't know, whatever you want to call them, but it took a lot of space on the bike. So I'm kind of glad they're gone.
Okay. Well, there's the answer to that. Jeez. That's
Now the question is, what do we do with the leathers, the uniforms, the smaller decals are under clear, all of our stuff.
Well, it's a good thing that, you have all this bodywork that you need to have repainted by Color Zone, right?
That's a positive. That's another way of looking at it. We could eliminate that decal with some more paint.
Yes. Maybe have him throw some glitter in there, dude.
I did put a Moto America decal over the small one we had because we made a decal that was about the size of the Moto America decal from last year.
Yeah.
But then we went through Tech Dakota, and this girl at Dakota's like, you need to run this decal. And I'm like, where are we going to put that? She goes, on the lower. I go, we want to cover up Progressive? And she's like, I don't care. That kind of thing. I'm like, all right. I go, you guys feel good about running a scam operation decal? Because if you ever been on the website, Auto Parts for Less, it's a total scam. There's
no, I never.
There. You can't buy anything. You could buy something, but who knows if you'll ever get it. But anyway, maybe they're just starting out. I have no idea. I don't know these people. But from the beginning, I thought it was a scam deal.
So let's see. Man, they said some guys saying that it's a 70-cent stock. And it had been trending way down over the past year on the stock market. Now we're talking about stocks.
Well, there was another company just like that back in the day, right near the dot-com bubble, that was doing the auto parts thing. I can't remember what the hell the name of that company was. It was the same kind of thing. They were selling shares to everyone, and it turned out to be another one of those scam things. The whole thing collapsed, and I think the owner ended up dying mysteriously.
Do you think that lack of dough is maybe part of the reason why some of the TV stuff, the troubles?
The lack of dough for the TV? You talking about
like maybe
the pre-race thing?
Maybe they were relying on some of that money to afford the TV stuff.
Oh,
maybe.
I don't know anything about how that works. I think their diesel generator went out or something like that for the TV truck.
So strange to have things like that happen, though. Like it just.
It should happen. So strange for our bikes to smoke.
Yeah, it's strange for you guys.
Strange for the body to smoke.
It's strange for you guys to end a day of racing with 0 points. Like that's really strange.
Yeah, strange for both of our guys crash in the same race. There's a lot of strange stuff that happens.
Yeah.
The TV truck going down. Yeah, that's probably strange.
All right, let's do the couch potato crew chiefs. I got a couple of good ones.
Okay.
These are from Moto America's Instagram comments on the video of James.
All right, hold on, let me drink my coffee to get ready.
Yeah. Okay. So Two Wheels 122 says, "Go ahead and hand the trophy to the red team. This shit is over before it got started."
Greg White was telling me on the phone once that they didn't talk about us very much in the off season because they might as well just hand Gandhi the trophy. So, again, 80% of the races are still there. So we'll see how it goes in Virginia and Road America and all the others. I think they might have said some of that about Baz coming here too, didn't they? Initially?
Yeah. It's weird that they would say that to you this year, considering at the beginning of last year, not a single one of them predicted Jake?
Yes. And then let's look at this reality, okay? I knew Petrucci was going to go good at Coda because he has more laps around there than anyone. You know, because he's been riding MotoGP since what, 2013?
Right.
Like that, after the Superstock Championship, World Superstock, whatever we had.
Yeah.
So he's been doing this stuff since 2013. He's done more laps around Coda, and he's got all the backing in the bike. So I knew that Coda was going to go really good for him. Now, race one, mind you, that Jake crashed in the lead. You know, made a mistake and curbed it. You know, I think so. Let's look at it by the facts, not by some mysterious pie in the sky look, right? Facts. Yes, Coda was going to be challenging for us. It's a track that hasn't been as good for the Yamaha over the years. Even the Yosh bikes won there when they didn't do very well the rest of the season, right? They won both races there the last time. Right. And so, okay, so that one's basically in the history books. And then you go to Road Atlanta. We set pole, both of our bikes on the front row. You know, both of our guys are within a few tenths of each other. Yeah, Petrucci split us, P2. And then, you know, our guy crashes in race one. And then we finished 1-2 in race two. So I don't know. Hand the trophy over? Not quite yet, buddy.
Wow. Okay, so how about this one? This one's gonna be I think this one might be my favorite. Two-wheeling and grilling says
another two-wheeling guy.
Two-wheeling in grilling.
And grilling.
Yes.
Must be a bagger.
He says as much as I don't want to say it, it's looking like the Attack team didn't take the offseason as serious as some of the other teams did. They'll get it together, but hopefully not too late. You can't let talents like Skoltz and Petrucci get races ahead of you.
Thank you. I mean, what do you want me to say about that?
I mean, you how dare you? How dare you not take the offseason seriously, Richard?
Oh yeah, you should tell my kid that. He'd be like, "Where you been?"
Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
Well, obviously he doesn't know what he's talking about, but that's okay. And he's got his right to his opinion. Not the
yeah. Let's see. And let's see, what the hell is this guy? F Jeremy, I think, or I don't know. He says he thinks that Petrucci is just a little bit ahead of the rest of the field. There's a lot of that stuff. I mean, it's basically like,
he was ahead. He was ahead when Jake crashed. I remember that now. Must be looking through a different set of lenses, those rosy colored Ducati glasses.
How about the official CJ says he saw it coming, just knowing that Jake Gagne was on a super soft front and Petrucci was on a medium front and actually closing the gap.
Okay.
Or the official
job as a crew chief. Is that what it is?
We want a job as a crew chief from the couch. Okay, the official Carlos C says that Jake was just scared of Petrucci. Or another, there's a bunch of them that are like,
what I call Jake scared.
Yeah, Jake scared.
Yeah, I think that's one word that's never crossed my mind when it comes to Jake.
Let's see. There's a bunch of them, man. Like, don't be crying. Jake knew there was a lion behind him.
Yeah. Oh, the guy's a poet.
Yeah.
Might be a rapper.
Clearly.
Rap star.
Let's see. Too bad. I don't know. It feels like he was already feeling under pressure. Jake going from heaven to hell in these first few rounds.
I don't doubt that he felt pressure, but it wasn't from Petrucci. It was the weight of that number one plate. Perfectly honest with you.
Okay.
You know, he has the pressure. I think I can't say for sure, but I kind of noticed it a little bit. There's a certain weight that comes with that number one plate, and when Cameron had it for quite a while, so he was pretty at ease with it. You know, having number one plate. But I think a lot of guys, you know, look at what's happening with Top Rack and World Superbike. You know, you get that number one plate, and then you have so much pressure, and then things can go sideways when you're thinking about that. Not necessarily from any particular rider, it's just maintaining the status. Now everyone's gunning for you. You have to live up to a certain standard. You set a record of winning all these races, and
Right.
you have to now win everything. So you have that certain amount of pressure you put on yourself. I don't think it's coming from any colored motorcycle.
Okay.
So I do believe he feels a little bit under pressure. I think he worked that out in race 2. And that super soft front tire worked really well too in race 2, by the way.
This guy Clayson's IG says he broke concentration for a split second, thinking about the other rider, and lost it. That's all it takes sometimes on the track. Happens to everyone though. At times it's best to just race the track and go after lap times when up front. Well, thanks for that info, Clayson's IG. Right?
I mean, could be. I don't think that was the case. Like I said, I think it was the weight of the one. But that's something you got to ask Jake, not me, because I'm not even his crew chief. We just build the bikes, and then we help them with the technology, to get going.
And then this one's actually more about Moto America, but Safe Moon Racer says it's embarrassing for A-class racers like Petrucci to come over here and deal with a, quote, unorganized mess. Baz complained constantly about how poorly maintained the racetracks were and its vendors just last year. Moto America, we're better than this.
Yeah, the racetracks could use some help, but I think it's got something to do with, I think those other countries get a lot of government funding for their racetracks. And so we're fairly private. So we have to beat up the tracks nonstop with cars and things like that to make the tracks float. I mean, I can't speak for the tracks and how they do their finances, but I have a feeling that has a lot to do with it. If you have a government funded racetrack or you have some subsidies, you could probably name a bunch of tracks where you go, I don't know how those guys stay alive, with the amount of races they have. Well, they're getting some subsidies somewhere, right? Or sponsorship or things like that. So yeah, I think there could be a lot done to the tracks, but the tracks get a lot of their money from cars, and they're not motorcycle specific, so it makes it hard for us. It's always been the case since AMA days, way back in the day. I mean, these guys, if those guys think these tracks were rough, they should have raced 20 years ago. Places like Mid-Ohio with concrete slabs and the rain, as soon as it came, you basically crashed because the pavement would change and the walls right there. Hay bales, no air fence. I mean, the list goes on and on. Loudon, craziness at Loudon. The fans were throwing crap at us at Loudon because we didn't want to race in the wet, or at least, we were all ordered to stand down by the manufacturers. We were with Suzuki at the time, and we're like, we're not racing in the wet. Just not going to happen. And the fans started throwing stuff at us. So that place was all walls and dangerous, and people got hurt there all the time. But if they had to race there, they'd be shocked. But guys like there's a lot of greats that came through our series too. That rode our tracks.
Right. So
Bayless, one of them.
AC says you definitely got to give Petrucci credit for getting up to speed so quickly at Road Atlanta.
Yeah, no, that was good. Yeah, no, I
the dude
saw
is
that.
legit. I mean, I don't understand why anybody would doubt that.
No, he's the real deal.
So Eric Schabel has a question for you. Like, can you discuss the gap between the two attack bikes, number 1 and 45 in race 2? Is there like where do you think?
We don't give Cameron the same stuff.
Oh, you only give him the leftovers. That's right.
We give him the bent stuff that fell off of Jake's bike that crashed. Put Cameron's bike together with that. We actually yanked the bike out from under Cameron and gave it to Jake.
There you go. Yeah.
And Cameron's bike is every bit as nice as Jake's.
No, I mean, is there like the bikes are the same, obviously. Yes. We know this. But like, where is it that Cam's losing time?
Experience, I think. More experience. So a lot of it's on the exit.
Okay.
I think it's just experience. I mean, he and then his crash in the first day was just he felt so confident on the motorcycle. He said that he felt like he can go the pace, straight away, but he's not there yet. He needs a little more time on the bike to really understand the nuances of it and really understand how the electronics come on and how he can manage the power delivery and how fast you can get to the throttle and all that kind of stuff. He still has to work on some of the throttle pickup, middle corner on, and then he's got to tighten his gap between the brakes and the gas. But the last race, I could see that stuff on the data, but considering the first day and considering race 1, it wasn't the right time to be saying, hey man, you got to tighten up your gap right here. You got to open the throttle sooner. You got to stand the bike up a little better. I was like, just finish the race.
Yeah.
Finish the race.
That's your job as a crew chief to make that call too, right?
Yeah.
You can't be steering him into the ground, so you have to make more shit, right?
Some riders you got to kick in the ass and make them go faster, and other riders you calm them down and go faster. So Cameron's somewhere closer to the calm him down category. Same with Jake, actually.
Yeah.
Jake in 2020, I mean, he was a madman on that motorcycle. He was twisting the cables off it, and feet off the pegs and thing going sideways and sideways entry and sideways on the throttle and big blackies. And dude, calm down. That's not the way to go
wheelies,
fast.
though. Epic wheelies.
Yeah, jumping curbs and now he's a lot smoother. And there comes the results.
Yeah, I mean, so Eric says thanks for the answer. Let's see, Laguna Seca has government backing and they still can't put it together there. Wow, dude, that's harsh.
Yeah, I don't know. Laguna's a pretty cool track.
I think Laguna's pretty nice.
Yeah, I mean, GP goes there, right? Or used to. World Superbike used to go there.
Yep.
And so it was a legit FIM track, FIM qualified track. Same with Coda. Coda obviously puts a lot of money in there. I mean, they paved half the damn place before we showed up, and it's got proper FIM spec everything. So Formula One races there, MotoGP. It's about anybody can race there.
Here's a good one for you. Donovan Piper says, "Who foots the bill for you guys? Just out of curiosity, how does your yearly budget work?"
I can't discuss any of that. So obviously we get some support from all the decals around the bike.
There you go.
So that's how it works, and Attack is a big part of it.
Yeah, I mean, you're back there, and you're a lot of the parts on the Superbike are parts that you can go out and buy. Right?
Well, this is what makes it a little more affordable for us, because we pretty much build everything in house. So you're talking about the swing arm, the fuel tank, the triple clamps, the foot controls, the handlebars. All the little knick-knack gadgets, 3D printed parts. We do it all here. The engine builds and the wiring harnesses. So there really isn't a lot we have to buy outside of the stuff that Yamaha supplies, the motorcycles and the bare engines, the crate engines. Or at this point, they don't even supply motorcycles, they supply us with frames and bits, parts allowance and things like that. So outside of that, we make almost everything in-house. So it makes it much more affordable. That's been our MO forever, since the 90s. We've always made everything ourselves, and that makes it way more affordable. We don't have to go somewhere and buy it.
Right.
So take into account, let's say that Warhorse team, they don't make anything as far as I know. I think they order everything up or come straight from Bologna. That team's no Bologna, by the way. I mean, that's a real deal, and they have really good staff as far as technicians go, and really good rider. But they buy all their stuff, So same with Westby, they pretty much buy all their stuff. They don't build anything for the most part. I mean, they have some little bit of fabbing to do here and there. I think they're building a fuel tank now, not in house, but they have a vendor do it. So again, they foot the bill and they make the stuff. But for us, the budget was really, really decreased by the amount of stuff we make here at the shop.
Let's see. Asking why, TTX Tech again. He's asking why Peterson is behind Gagne, is not giving Jake credit for the level he has attained.
What do you mean? I don't understand that question. Rephrase. So Peterson behind Gagne is not getting credit. Is Peterson not getting credit?
I'm not sure.
I think that's what he's
Maybe
saying.
Noodle
Peterson
rephrased
did it, went out and did a, was it 23.6 in qualifying? He was following Gagne. They rolled out together, you know. So I asked Jake, he's okay if Cam goes out with you, because Cam missed all of Q1 with the hand thing, you know. So he's like, yeah, no problem, man, I don't care, you know. Like, all right, thanks. I'll make sure he does not qualify you. And so he rolled out with him and did a 23.6 right behind him, and Jake did a 23.4. And so I think it takes some talent to be able to run that pace. I don't care who you're following. You know, you've been to many track days, and the fast guy comes through from a nationally, like, I can't do that. You know, and the same thing there. I mean, he could have just said, I can't stay with him. But he went out and followed him real tight and was able to pull off that lap. We got in the front row, and I mean, that's teamwork right there. And so, you know, as Jake would say, hats off to Cameron for getting in the front row.
There you go.
Yeah.
I hope that answers TTX.
I don't know if that was his question, but there's an answer.
Okay, so here's another one from August Nord that's kind of pointed a little bit, but can the R1 be competitive in stock 1000 on the stock swing arm?
I think so. You know, we won a championship for that thing in 2000 and was it 16?
Yeah.
You know, and not much has changed in the way of motorcycles since then in the stock class.
Right.
You know, the ZX10 is still the ZX10, and BMW is still BMW. So I think the Yamaha, you know, you have to rebalance it with a stock swing arm. You know, the length is a little bit shorter than what we do. You'd have to run that thing out in the slots as far as it goes and things like that. I think stock class, you might be able to modify the slots now. I don't remember, because they have that junior cup thing, or the, not junior cup, but the Superbike cup. So I'm not sure exactly how the rules are now. I know you were allowed to do some mods on the super stock bikes back then, so you get it close to the super bikes. But there's a bunch of races. We ended up on the podium in Laguna, I think, third in the superbike class with a super stock bike. So I think it's possible. Yeah.
So Matt Testa and I have been talking about this quite a bit offline, and I think we're going to try to wrangle you and maybe Darren Marshall to help us with this, but we're running those I2M dashes.
Mm-hmm.
And so Testa's like, hey, can Richard share CAN bus IDs for the 20 plus R1 kit ECU so we could program our I2M systems?
CAN bus IDs. You want to export or import CAN into the I2M?
I don't know.
You want to get CAN bus from what to what? I guess, you know, you need to know what's transmitting and what's receiving, and they all have to have the same IDs, and then all the bits have to be right, and you know, the length has to be right, and the decimal points got to be in the right place. Is it floating, or all kinds of crapola goes into CAN bus. Yeah, so it's a little more complicated than just sharing some bit of information.
He says import, you know, but he's not
import off of a kit ECU.
Yeah,
I thought they already did that.
I'm not sure. Like I think we're talking to Marshall about it because he's messing around with the I2M stuff on his R1 as well.
Okay.
So I don't know. Like, there's a few things about the I2M thing that we've been kind of working together on.
Yeah, I think on the dash you have is all programmable, where the ones we run is like a basic model. All it is really is display.
Right.
So it can be done by I2M. They can program in some stuff to receive, but there are templates that those guys built, and so they don't really have the programming tools for that dash we use. But I'm sure Marshall can poke around the Chrome Pro, whatever it's called, Pro Plus.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, he says it's very limited. So anyway, so let's see. It kind of like made me lose train of thought. Okay. The last thing I wanted to talk about is like the follow-up to the competition question that we always talk about. Obviously the Ducati, but pretty good showing for those BMW guys in Superbike, right? I mean, Hector's getting closer, and Kyle finished on the podium in a sub ride.
I guess, you know, for as new as they are, they're just so far back. You know, that's the only part that I wonder about. I wish they were a little closer.
Yeah.
Cameron was riding on pins and needles trying not to crash the bike. thinking about, he said it was one of his worst rides, even though he finished second, thinking about how safe he has to be on the bike to bring it home. Because after Matt crashed, he was still 11 seconds ahead of those guys in second place.
Mm.
So they were like 20 some odd seconds back. So if I was them, I'd be scratching my head like, how are we going to get closer?
Yeah.
Because so far, Coda and at Road Atlanta, it's been the 4 guys. It's split the 3 Yamahas and Ducati, and they're basically gone.
Right.
So yeah, I think Hector was hate to say it, but I think he was better last year on the other BMW.
Okay. Wow.
You know what I mean? He was more competitive, wasn't he? Like not as far back. I have to go back and look at the numbers and see for a guy that hadn't tested any of the tracks. I thought he'd be a little bit stronger. Okay. So he must still be coming to terms with that, the new bike versus Steve's bike.
And I think Jake Lewis, obviously, he's veteran.
Yeah.
Kind of, right? He's not a rookie. And obviously, Richie Escalante is a rookie in the class.
Yeah.
So,
I think Richie's going to start coming.
I think so. I think
I have my, yeah, I think out of the 2, I think Richie's got some potential, I don't know where the Suzuki's are. They again seem pretty far back.
Yeah.
So I think they were a little closer last year with Cameron and Fong.
Maybe something to that.
I don't know. I have to go back and look at all the numbers and see how many seconds back they were in every race. It was
so what's your plan aside from building stuff for VIR?
I got some stuff I'm working on, but now at the time is really compressed. So we got to, make sure the painter gets some new bodywork done. We smashed up some stuff. Got to build some fuel tanks, and then we got to do some stuff with the engines to, again, tune for the least common denominator. We can find that whatever that moving target is, and then we got some chassis stuff we're working on for VIR.
All right. Well, you know what, man? I think we're good.
I'm good.
Like an hour and a half into this thing.
Yeah. I better go back to prepping in the off season.
All right. So if anybody wants to know if we should call ourselves the Shrek and Donkey Show.
No.
Probably
get sued. But all 5.2 viewers, who cares?
Right. Exactly.
You call it whatever you want.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right, Richard. Well,
all right, man.
Best of luck